SMT Nation, we back. Nation, I want to do this T-Mobile video here today to discuss something that a lot of people have been asking for and looking for updates, and we just simply haven't had it. But I think we've got an indication on what T-Mobile's up to, and we have to kind of change our expectations on, what they're going to be doing with their network. I know a lot of people have been calling for T-Mobile to, build and develop a much more capacitive network layer using mmWave. And I just don't think it's going to happen, folks. I know indications, at least internally, through engineering, was that they were going to have this really solid CRAN deployment plan, with small cells and mmWave, and we would start to see those things in the near future. I just don't see it happening. I'm not saying that they won't do it in some spots, but it's going to be so sparing. That portion of their quote unquote layer cake is just going to be so few and far in between. It's really not going to be something substantial. All right, now let me give you guys my reasoning and my explanation for this and why I believe this to be the case. I'm sharing here with you on the screen an image of a newly upgraded and modified site in New Jersey. We already covered a video on this. What you have here, folks, is 3 different frequencies of 5G midband. All right, so on the left, all the way to the left, and second from the left, and third from the left, you have the 3700, 3450, and 2500 frequencies, right? So this is N77 and N41. Now, in this particular case, you've got probably 140 to 160 megahertz N41. You've got what I believe is probably 20, 30 megahertz of the DoD, 3450. And then you've got 40 megahertz of 3700. That additional 60 or so megahertz of bandwidth is a nice boost to what's probably a heavily utilized N41 5G UC experience, right? There's a lot of traffic on that channel. So it's going to be crucial for T-Mobile to upgrade their macro grid with all these frequencies. In and of itself, that's going to take another climb. That's going to require, if they haven't done so already, moving from 1 gig fiber circuits, in terms of like the actual fiber optics that run to the tower sites. If they're at 1 gig, they're going to have to go to 10 gig, right? If you're going to squeeze out more capacity, you've got to have the juice, and that comes through the fiber circuits. All right, so that's going to have to happen. So you got hardware, you've got, the radio access equipment, fiber circuits, and so, but this is where I'm going, right? I want to show you guys this picture. This is the site before the upgrade. You guys see that little antenna there in the middle? That's mmWave. All right, so the N41 is already there, and all the other, sub 6 gigahertz frequencies are there too. But they took down mmWave to make space for these other ones. So I don't know if this is a testing situation. I don't know if this is going to be something we'll see across that market. I don't know how many other markets are going to be like this. But folks, they are completely de-emphasizing staying away from mmWave. They don't like the way it works for them. As opposed to Verizon, who's been very aggressive with mmWave. Even through the build out of C-band, we have seen new mmWave installations across many markets in the country. And we've seen, T-Mobile doing things like, share buyback programs, and now they're paying a dividend and all this stuff to the tune of like $19 billion. And they're like terrified of a mmWave build. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they don't like the frequencies they own. I don't know if they like, if it's the radio access network equipment that they don't like. I don't know. But I feel pretty strongly about this. Expecting them to have a substantial mmWave initiative or deployment in the near term, I think is just unrealistic. It's just not happening, people. They're only going to do it if they have to. It just doesn't make any sense to think otherwise. They literally took out a mmWave node here, which would have brought them, right, depending on their spectrum holdings, probably 400 to 800 megahertz of bandwidth. They traded that for like 20 or 40 megahertz of midband to show you what they think of midband versus mmWave. And I get it. The midband works better, right? It's higher powered. It's got further reach. It's got indoor penetration. But I mean, the speed that the millimeter wave can produce to the tune of, multiple gigs per second. I mean, that 20 to 40 or 60 megahertz of additional midband gives them a couple hundred megabits per second, maybe 300. I don't know, depending on the theoretical and the fiber circuits. I'm just thinking about it realistically. What's the additional bandwidth that's going to be brought to the network that customers could utilize? Let's call it a few hundred megabits per second. They're trading a few gigabits per second for a few hundred megabits per second. But they don't like millimeter wave. I think it's just too difficult for them. They don't like the getting access to infrastructure, poles, rooftops, the densification process. They've got all these things going on corporate-wise. I do not like the future in millimeter wave for T-Mobile. I mean, what? How far are we? They're going to squeeze the life out of every little piece of midband they can get. I would argue that they probably want at least 1 or 2 more midband auctions before they even start talking millimeter wave legitimately. I don't think we're close, folks. And this is New Jersey. What are the conversations in LA? What are the conversations in Phoenix and Vegas? What are the conversations in Florida, like markets where they have tremendous market share, Chicago? Like, those are areas that are going to have millimeter wave, and I really do hope that T-Mobile just embraces the grind and just supports their consumer base. Folks, they're still growing. They still add 600,000-700,000 phone net ads every quarter. They're adding 500,000-600,000 quarterly home internet customers. There's usage on the network, and the per customer usage per month has increased year over year by 20-30%. You're getting more users, more usage per user, and now you've got new use cases. God, man, they're going to need more midband auctions, and they probably want a couple more before they even explore the world of millimeter wave. Do you guys have concerns? What's your takeaways from this update and kind of where T-Mobile's at? I gave you my take, but what's yours? Comment down below. You all the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, and subscribe for more, and turn on the bell notifications so you know whenever we do upload new content. And if you want to support us, the links are in the description. Thank you, folks. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.